lifestyles of the rich and famous. No, not really. This is the Trent England Show. I hope I didn't just violate somebody's intellectual property. But we're going to see some beautiful buildings on the show today. They won't show you these on NBC or CBS or ABC. Bernie Sanders isn't tweeting about them. But I'm going to show you what they won't, which are some of Oklahoma's most beautiful buildings. And by the way, they happen to be public schools. And I have a list of all of the revenue increases passed over the last 3 years. We've been working on pulling all this together to document for you, the Oklahoma taxpayer, the fact that taxes and fees have been increased over the last 3 years in Oklahoma to the tune of more than $1 billion. You're going to want to see that list. First of all, though, let me start off with a correction, a fact check to something I still see on social media, and this is terrible. Right? People not understanding a basic. Now, look, I get it. I mean, a lot of us aren't, a lot of people aren't policy wonks. A lot of people don't sit around reading the state constitution. That's fine. No problem, right? But if we're going to weigh in on a state budget debate, we need to know some really basic facts, don't we? And one of those facts is the state budget's for 1 year. 1 year. And so have you seen people saying this? Well, the teacher pay raise is not funded beyond 1 year. No employee pay in the state of Oklahoma is funded beyond 1 year. That's legislators haven't funded their own pay beyond 1 year. Nobody's pay is funded beyond 1 year. The budget is a 1 year budget. And actually, right now, in this little window of time where the education budget has passed and the regular budget hasn't passed, teachers they're the ones who have their salaries funded out into the next year. Nobody else, no other state workers have that, it's sort of a meaningless factoid, right? But it's also a meaningless and terribly disingenuous factoid for people. And I know most people are pushing this out in ignorance, but we should correct them. For people to be saying, well, this teacher pay raise, it's only for 1 year. It's some kind of a trick. I mean, that is not true. And for the people who know better and are saying it, it's a lie. It's inexcusable. I know most people are just parroting it, but we should correct people. I think it's terrible that we see those kind of claims being made out there to try to drag this out. I will say one of the funniest things I saw yesterday, as the OEA, the Oklahoma Education Association, the affiliate of the National Education Association union based in Washington, D.C., as they started to lay the groundwork to wrap things up, they said, look, we're 95% to where we wanted to be in our 1 year demands, which is true. Most people would call that a pretty good compromise, wouldn't they? Right, in the political process. But as soon as the OEA put that messaging point out yesterday, they have been savaged on Facebook and savaged on Twitter by all of these people who are saying that they're selling out teachers. So anyway, I just was amused by that, wanted to share that with you in case you haven't seen it. Okay, let's go flying. Let's take a look at some of these amazing schools right here in the state of Oklahoma. Again, they're not going to show this on the regular media, but we'll show you here on the Trent England Show what some of these schools look like. Let's take a look at the first one. Okay, so this is Broken Arrow Public Schools here in the great state of Oklahoma. Isn't that nice? Isn't that amazing? Check that out. The sports facilities and everything in Broken Arrow. This is really nice. Now, look, I understand that I get it. This is paid for with bond money. And I get this all the time. People say, well, it's not fair to talk about school buildings because school buildings are paid for with bond money. And that's different. Look, you go to the taxpayer and say, is it different when you pay taxes to pay for a bond than when you pay taxes to pay for another kind of property tax levy, or when you pay taxes on sales, or when you pay taxes on income, or when you pay taxes on anything else? Look, all the money comes from taxpayers. So don't tell me that, well, it's totally different money. And what's really disingenuous, what a lot of school superintendents say, what a lot of school boards say, well, we can only spend this money on buildings, and that is a lie. When they tell you they can only spend this money on buildings, bond money on buildings, they are not telling you the truth. Let's take a look at another one of these schools. This is Catoosa. Okay, so, and by the way, all of the schools that we're showing you today on the Trent England Show, these are all closed. These are all video clips that they provided on YouTube that we're able to show you here. This is Catoosa Public Schools, right? These schools are all closed. You can see there another, we've talked about Catoosa on the show a lot. That's their monolithic dome cafeteria, spared no expense, right? They could only spend this money on buildings. That's what they told us. That's what they told taxpayers in Catoosa. It's not true. Here's what, let me, look, don't take my word for it. I have a list here. Tulsa Public Schools passed a bond in 2015. What did they spend that bond money on? I'll just give you some of these categories while we look at a video clip from Tulsa Public Schools. It's not luxury, but man, the chairs look pretty good. The desks look pretty good. Check out this clip. Okay, so Tulsa Public Schools, their 2015 bond, they spent money on, sure, school additions, renovations, roofing, plumbing, restroom upgrades. That's all building stuff, right? Also, sports facility upgrades. I suppose that's still building stuff, but it's sports facilities, right? It's not academics. They tell us that they value academics so much. But what did they also raised almost $20 million for libraries, and that wasn't just that wasn't the building. $10 million for library books, right? Schools can, if they value books in their library, they can raise money for books in their library, especially in some of these big districts, especially in districts, obviously in districts where they're passing their bonds. Bond money is not just for buildings. That's not true. There are library books right here on Tulsa Public. I'll put this link up after the show. Right here in Tulsa Public Schools 2015 bond. What else? School buses, right? We've heard people say, oh, our school buses are in disrepair. They're 80 years old. They're pulled by horses or whatever. I don't know. Look, you bond for school buses. That also is true. What else do they bond for? Textbooks, fine arts, uniforms, auditorium improvements, right? Audio-visual stuff. They bonded for STEM materials, reading materials, safety, science lab safety equipment. They bonded for health education equipment, right? They bonded to buy stuff for the gym. They can buy all that stuff with bonds. It's not just building. My point is, it's not just buildings. I've got one more clip. This one is going to. It's hold off on the clip for just a minute here, but this one you're going to be blown away. Right, this is unbelievable, which is why I've got to tell you what they can really spend bond money on, right? Don't let them tell you, well, we had to build the Taj Mahal because we couldn't spend that money on anything else. Again, that's a lie. Tulsa Public Schools, their bond went to classroom computers, went to textbooks, went to furniture, went to upgrading the pool locker room, went to technology, a 21st century classroom program. They have a lot of technology on here. They've got $40 million and then another line item for $14 million and then another line item for $7.5 million. That's all technology. They're reading in STEM curriculum materials, $8.5 million. I mean, look, they raised a lot of money. I've got the sheet here, the information sheet for Oklahoma City Public Schools' most recent bond. They can use bond monies. In the districts that are passing bonds, they have a lot of choices. Let's look at Deer Creek Schools. Check this out. Yeah, that's, I mean, they've been bragging about some of these hotels that have been built in Midtown and down in Bricktown. Unbelievable. That is a public school in the state of Oklahoma that is shut down on this fake strike. The school district has shut down to protest the fact that they don't have enough money as they walk through that school building. I mean, look, what else can you say? You saw the clip. Okay, so bond money. Look, there are two things. We talked about them on the show. I'm not going to belabor them today. You can go back and watch earlier shows. They have more flexibility than they admit that they have. And there are things that they could ask for from the legislature to get more flexibility. You know, one of the problems, though, is they don't want more flexibility, right? The Oklahoma State School Board Association, the Cooperative Council of School Administrators in Oklahoma, they are financially supported by whom? By the people who build those buildings, by the people who design those buildings, by architecture firms and construction companies. Look, you follow the money, you find out why they oppose. They want all that money to be tied up or to claim that it's tied up in buildings, because those people then give a kickback to the political organizations that then support the political agendas of administrators. That's how it works. You go on their website. We've showed you on the show in the past. We've put up those links in the past. I can do it again after the show. All that information is publicly available. But the problem is, right, they actually have gone to the legislature in the past and asked for more flexibility. You know what they asked for flexibility on? Textbook funds. The school administrators said, we actually don't want you to earmark money just for textbooks when you send that money out, the state money out to public schools. We want you to get rid of the earmark for textbooks, just put that money in with all the other money. And when the legislature did that, you know what the school administrators were saying just months later and what they're saying right now? You took away all of our textbook money, right? The problem is legislators have no appetite to create more flexibility for local school boards because legislators have essentially been lied to and manipulated and made the scapegoat for the bad decisions and the disingenuous politics of local school boards and local school administrators. I'm not saying all of them, but some of them, right? But the solution to this is, I think, for the legislature to just push the accountability, push a lot of flexibility down to the local district and make them, either decide to spend the money on textbooks or not, give them more flexibility, let them, if they want to bond finance, debt finance for some of these projects, fine. If they want to use property taxes to not bond finance and pay for some of these things in another way, why have a separate cap for bonds and a separate cap for regular operating levies? Taxpayers don't care, right? Why not just have one cap? This is my view on how all this should work. On the other hand, I mean, I've heard some legislators say, we should just take over all these school districts. They blame us for everything anyway. They claim that they have no ability to make wise decisions or to prioritize spending in local school districts. Why doesn't the state just take over all these school districts, get rid of all this middle management that likes to pretend like they can't do anything and like everything is the state's fault, and just at least create a situation where if the state's at fault for something, the state can actually go out and directly change it. I've heard that being bantered up at the state capitol. Okay, I want to finish the show with the list of tax increases. We can pull that up on the screen there for you. You haven't seen this probably before, but this is we're going to put this up on our website at ocpathink.org. People are saying, we can't raise taxes in Oklahoma. We've never raised taxes in Oklahoma. People are even saying, the other myth about the teacher pay raise, well, it's not really, the money's not really there. This is how much in taxes and fees the Oklahoma legislature has raised revenue in the last 3 years. You've got changes to the gross production tax. You've got changes to itemized deductions. You've got the elimination of a tax credit program. And that's all just in 2016. In 2017, you have another $250 million. And then we get to this year, and it's over $500 million at this point. That is not chump change. That's a lot of money. And look, for the people who say that we can't, the legislature hasn't been able to raise revenue or that everything's been slashed and cut and it's because of tax cuts, look at the sheet, look at the details. It's clear that that is not the whole story, at least. I'm not going to, look, it's politics. It's a little bit complicated. There may be, there's data that everybody can throw around. I just think we should talk about everything that's gone on and not let people pretend like this, push this false narrative that we haven't been able to increase taxes and fees in Oklahoma, because it is a false narrative, and you can see the chart. I'm going to post that at ocpathink.org later today, and you can find it there. I'll post the link to that Tulsa bond information too, so you can just get an idea of what all the things are that schools can spend bond money on. We're knocking down a lot of myths today, and look, if you want to go back and watch the videos of those luxury schools, especially Deer Creek, you just kind of relax and sit back and watch the camera soar over those schools or whatever if you want to do that. Share this video out. People need to know the truth. People need to not, I'm tired of people running down the state of Oklahoma. I'm tired of all these people. Even people who live here, who like to present this image of the state as being backward. Look, there are lots of things we can do better. That's why I work on public policy. That's why you care about public policy. But we shouldn't let anyone unfairly run down the state of Oklahoma. We've got to rebut that. That's part of why I put together the show this way today. Thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes, YouTube, like us on Facebook, communicate with us on Facebook, find us on SoundCloud, and the whole archive of the Trent England Show is up at ocpathink.org. Thanks again for watching.